my friends, and welcome. This is Alexandria Nicole. You are here for Thriving Thursdays. I am here with Christopher O'Sullivan, my friends, and he is a financial guru in the aspects of insurance. Okay, I'm super excited to share him with you today and have him give you a little bit of insight on what you can expect when you are shopping for insurance and the type of questions to ask, the type of things to look for. We are going to get all into it. So hello, Chris, and welcome to Thriving Thursdays. How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. So we're going to start off talking about your amazing journey when you started as an entrepreneur 22 years ago at 19. What was that like?
Well, it kind of just evolved. I grew up in a family that were farmers in Hawaii, and we always witnessed selling our products to other caterers or other people who were cooking our foods and reselling it. And so I said, why not me? Why can't I do that? Right. So at 19 years old, I started a catering business, and it was amazing. Right. I mean, it took off really quick. We were super busy for 22 years.
Wow.
And that's something I thought I'd do forever. Right.
Yeah.
And then a little thing called the pandemic came along. And it forced us to really look at what we're doing and transition into things we might not have thought we would have got into, but it's been a blessing ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. So when you were faced with coming into the pandemic and you have a booming catering business and then things started to slow down, was that because of the regulations or just people were scared and really didn't know what to do, which direction to turn, and then you kind of were put in a circumstance where you needed to pivot and think about another direction to take your business into?
Yes, absolutely. So in Hawaii, we literally got shut down overnight, right? All events were canceled. So as I sat there and I thought, well, how long is this pandemic going to last, right?
Yeah.
What do we do moving forward? And in that process, I started looking at my personal finances, and I was thinking about, how do I start protecting my money, right? Because being self-employed, you got to create your own retirement, you got to create your own wealth. And as I went through that, I started looking like, hey, I'm starting to lose some money here. How do we correct that? And what I started realizing, because I was so busy for 22 years, was I didn't really know much about finances, right? And I said, wow, that's a problem, because how do I go out and protect my money? And so I started researching and started trying to educate myself on different ways to protect my finances. And I think if it wasn't for the pandemic, to be completely honest, I probably would have never went down that path.
Yeah.
But because of that, had to pivot, had to get educated, had to start learning about being smart about the money we're spending.
Yeah.
Right. I was already working from dark to dark, right? There was no way to earn extra money, right? So we got to get really, really educated on what we do with the money we do have.
Yes.
Right? Putting that in a position to protect our families and grow wealth for ourselves.
Oh, that's amazing. So you specialize in what is it? The living benefits, right?
Yes. So it's life insurance with living benefits.
Right.
And the beauty of that living benefit aspect of it is it didn't cost me anything, right? I transitioned my money into life insurance products. As we know, we may see on social media and whatnot, there's a lot of different things that insurance policies can do. But what they don't talk about, because they have 30 seconds to get your attention, right? What is the value of what you're getting, right? How much value can I really get by moving my money? Well, protecting it is super important, right?
Yes.
Pass it on, utilizing the tax code so our family can live a better life when we do pass on. But what about when we're alive, right? Does that life insurance really help us when we're alive? When you add those living benefits at no extra cost to these policies, one of my biggest concerns as an entrepreneur was always, if I get sick, what happens to my business?
Right.
Because I had a few employees, and what happens to their families, right? How do I protect all of that? And what living benefits did provide was that peace of mind that I would have access to that death benefit while I'm still alive. And I could use that for any reason I want to. whether it
Yeah.
was for medical bills or for paying my mortgage, my kids' education costs, or getting the family together and having one last hurrah. It's really up to me.
And it's interesting that you made that pivot towards thinking about how to protect your assets and how to protect your family during a time when so many people were struggling, and the health and the pandemic, everything that came along with that. There was a lot of death. There was a lot of evaluation of our mortality, even because it's not every day that kind of, the longevity of your life is called into question. You're just kind of living and going through the
I,
day. But the pandemic kind of made us think about what it is that we valued. It slowed us down as well too, for us to kind of prioritize our life, reprioritize, restructure what's important to us. What things do we need to keep versus what things do we need to throw away in terms of what the way that we want to live our life, right? So that kind of slowing down and think about the things that we want to have. What is our legacy going to be? What are we building? What are we working towards? What kind of future do I see for my children? So was that also kind of a part of you transitioning to something that teaches people and empowers people with the tools they need to protect their assets?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think one of the greatest things about the pandemic now, and take it for granted, a lot of people got sick, a lot of people
Yeah.
lost loved ones, and that's never a good thing. But it also brought families closer together. We had no
Mm-hmm.
choice, right? You had to be
Right.
with your family, right?
Right.
And that was an amazing blessing. But
Absolutely.
as this bond with your family grows, my thought process was, man, I was so busy trying to, build my business as an entrepreneur. What am I doing to make sure when I'm not here, my family can live on? Right. And that's what helped me pivot and like, hey, there has to be a way. We're on social media, we're on Google, we're looking at all these things and we see these things, but we don't know which way to go or who to talk to get those things. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So having that time to really reflect and position and thinking to myself, well, if I'm concerned about this, who else is concerned about this?
Mm.
Right. And why not we start talking to these people? you know it's so funny. We started using Zoom before the pandemic, but we'd have to teach everyone how to do it.
Yeah.
Today everybody knows how to use Zoom, right?
Yeah.
We start
Right. Right.
meeting with friends and family on Zoom, and meeting people we've never met on Zoom, and
Absolutely.
it's really made the world a smaller place and
Yeah.
gives us the opportunity to reach out to more people and just truly educate them on what they're currently doing. Life is hard enough, right? How do we go get this education without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Absolutely.
right?
And I do think that that's one of the things, like, there's so many, insurance is so multifaceted. There's whole life and term and all these different ways to kind of categorize it, and living benefits. And I think that people shy away from things that they're confused about in that essence. So what do you think is the most important attribute that you find with living benefits? What can people count on to help them that they ideally wouldn't know?
Right. So here's the first thing. Everybody thinks insurance is super complicated. I'm here to say it's not. Right?
Okay.
It's not super complicated. You got two different types. You got term, which is good for a certain amount of years, which is great for certain circumstances or situations. Then you have permanent insurance. All permanent types, such as whole life, universal life, index universal life, variable universal life. The difference there is they just earn wealth. They build wealth.
Right.
Right? So it's depending on what you want to do. But when you add living benefits, what it does, it ensures that while I'm alive, I have access to money if I ever get sick.
Mm.
And the beauty of using companies that have evolved in the insurance industry, because for the first 200 years, insurance was insurance. You bought
Right.
an insurance policy, whether it's term or permanent, and someone had to pass away in order to use that, right? Or for that death benefit to pay out. Well,
Right.
I'm here to tell you there are ways today where I work with a company that's 175 years old. They're the second oldest mutually owned insurance company, and they were actually the pioneers of living benefits. And what
Wow.
that it allows you to use that death benefit while you're alive if you have a terminal illness, a chronic illness, a critical injury, or a critical illness, right? You think about those things, and that's part of life, right? We go through life, we're young, we're healthy, we're never going to have that problem until someone we know gets diagnosed with cancer. Right? Someone has a heart attack and they're still in their 30s or 40-year-olds, right? We never think it's going to happen to us until it happens. And
that's so true. Yeah.
My biggest thing is, how do we ensure our financial security when that happens? Now, the great part of living in America, right, is we all have medical insurance. If you can't afford it, you can go get it from the government.
Right.
But my point is, medical insurance is very important. But your medical insurance will never pay your mortgage. It'll never pay your child's education costs. With these living benefits, it doesn't matter if you have a term policy or a permanent policy. You now have access to whatever that death benefit is from as early as 30 days after you make your first payment.
Wow. Okay, so walk me through what that looks like. Let's say you're healthy and you're vibrant. I'll give you a situation, my personal situation.
Okay.
It was about 10 years ago when I was diagnosed with pulmonary sarcoidosis. And I was fine. I was, young, healthy, vibrant, doing all the things. And then I realized that I was actually diagnosed with a hereditary autoimmune deficiency. And I was, I was getting sick and I was being misdiagnosed. I went through a lot of things. So in a situation like that, let's say there's financial strain, you find out something's going on with you, you fall ill, and then the household, that income, that primary income for some people that are in single home families, or maybe secondary income for partners, is now off the table because you're battling an illness. Does the insurance step in those situations and help you sustain your lifestyle, or what does that look like?
Yes, 100%. So, life insurance is still life insurance, right? The younger we are, we get started, the cheaper the cost of insurance, right? Less money we have to put into it. Now, it's understanding that there are certain triggers that need to happen. But in that scenario that you shared with me, basically what would have happened, that would be considered a critical illness. And 30 days after you made your first payment, you would have had access up to 70% of that death benefit. So let's say the death benefit was $500,000. You basically now had access 30 days later to up to $350,000 that you could take out of the policy and use for whatever reason, right? Whether it's to replace your current income so you can focus on getting healthy, focus on trying to find the right treatment, right? A lot of times when medical emergencies arise, we're actually at the restriction of what our medical coverage. Right? But if you had the ability to pay out of pocket because now you had access to that death benefit, what does that do for you? Right? It's everything, right? Because there's no doctor here that's going to turn down cash. Right? I mean, that's the reality of things, right? But see, the problem is most of us don't have cash in the bank, right? Why? Because of life. But by simply having a simple term policy, we now have access to a large lump sum of money should that medical emergency ever arise.
And I think that's the piece that a lot of people don't understand is that value, because unless you learn from someone or you have someone in your family that's well versed in this area, or whether you research it yourself, this is just not information that we are privy to. And several people use this as a means to generate wealth, like you were saying. But are you making it a part of your message to let people know how they can benefit, why they need this, what it is that they could do to get it, and why it's so valuable to keep it after you get it? Yeah, that's the part of it.
Again, before I got into this industry, right, I knew two things. I pay the bill, and when I pass away, my family gets money. right? In between that, no clue, right?
Yeah.
And so as I started this transition into this industry, I learned so much, and I said, if I'm learning all of this, imagine how many people have no clue, right? I was one of them, right? And it's kind of, it's funny to say, because although I represent a company that's been in business for 175 years, they don't advertise. It's all word of mouth, right? So
Yeah.
my huge push, right, is to help everyone, as many people as I can possibly come into contact with, just learn how it works. To me, whether they buy it or not is not important. It's them learning that, hey, there is something out there, right? There is a way to protect our finances. Imagine if you could be the person, which is why I got into this business. Because if it was regular life insurance, just without the living benefits, I don't know if I'd be doing it, right? But
Right.
when you meet someone who's got diagnosed with stage 4 terminal kidney cancer,
Mm.
only had a policy for 9 months, and he was able to access over $200,000 and take that money and go to a foreign country and do alternative cancer treatment, and today he's cancer free.
Wow.
How does that not change your life?
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, everyone needs to learn about this, right?
Yes.
And the sad fact is, I do a lot of presentations and conversations I have with people, and every time I ask the question, who knows somebody who had a heart attack or got diagnosed with cancer or had a stroke, almost everyone in the room raises their hand,
Right.
right? But yet we've never heard of living benefits. Why is that? I take it personal. It's my fault that I haven't reached out to you, right?
Mm.
Which is why it's my goal to touch as many people as I can, right?
Oh,
And if
that's
it's not me, it's the people I work with. How can I help them, reach more people, right? Because illness does not discriminate. It don't care how much money you have or don't have.
it doesn't care about your age. It doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care about your socioeconomical status. It
One,
doesn't. It comes for us all, right? But that's so good. We're going to put a pin in that. We will be right back in 30 seconds, you guys. Stay right there. We'll be right back. And we are back, my friends, with Christopher O'Sullivan. So tell us more about the insurance business. Have you found it to be gratifying? Does it fill you in the same way that your catering business did that you had for 22 years?
with catering, I've celebrated so many different milestones of people's lives, and it was always a great time, right? I loved being at events and participating in weddings and first birthday parties. In Hawaii, there's this tradition where it's called a baby luau, where you have 500-600 people at these parties, right?
Wow.
And it's a great time. But how do I help the next person? Well, I got to start that process all over again,
Mm.
right? And here in the insurance industry, it's not just about celebrating that one moment in time, right?
Mm.
It's giving them the education that's going to protect their family throughout their lifetime.
Oh, that's so good.
When it comes from protecting our ability to go to work and earn a living, because that's everyone's number one asset, right?
Yeah.
That you can't purchase. But if something happens, it can go away, right? So we protect that. And then we show them how to get more value for the money they're already spending.
Mm-hmm.
In this day and age, who can imagine working 2 or 3 jobs? And that's a huge reality for a lot of people today.
For some people, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do they do when they lose that ability? You need to be protected. You have to learn about these things, right? But now that they're working 2 or 3 jobs just to survive, how are they putting away for the future? right? How many of us know somebody who is supposed to be retired but doesn't have that choice?
Right.
Right? That's
Yeah.
another thing insurance can do. I mean, we'd be here for 4 hours if we talked about that. But it's the ability to teach somebody how to protect their livelihood, and then how to protect their retirement, how to be able to earn with the market like your 401k does, but never have any risk, right? Never lose any of your money, and then protect your family when you do finally pass on.
Mm.
And all of those things can be done in one single product, which then gives you more money on a monthly basis to be able to do other things with your family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A huge part of what we do is just trying to help educate people, right? Because I truly believe in knowledge is power, right? And knowledge is only good if we utilize that knowledge, right? We don't want to learn everything and do nothing, right?
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
there's one true thing about life is life moves on,
That's right.
right? And there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, that's so true. I have a networking group and I have all these various things, and a lot of times insurance agents come to my group and they have a challenging time maybe getting new clients or keeping new clients, keeping the clients that they have signed up. I hear all these various challenges that they are attempting to overcome. So you would say that to overcome those challenges, it has to be about continuing to educate your clients on the benefits of what they're getting. Because essentially, for some people, it might feel like you're paying into something that you honestly you can't see the return on your investment, right? And so it starts to feel like it's not that valuable. It starts to feel like you're just throwing money away. You're wasting your money, and they're like, well, I have a decision to make. We need to downsize, but can't get rid of the car, and I like my car, and I need my insurance to drive. Can't do anything about the cell phone and all these lines. Everybody needs their lines and their iPads and their Wi-Fi. Can't do anything about that. Let's go ahead and cut the insurance
Right.
aspect of it, right?
And here's the challenging part about that is that's traditional insurance. Why? Because you have to die to use it. Right? But adding living benefit changes everything. Why? When do people get sick? In times of stress. Right? When money gets tight, everyone stresses. Right? That's when you really need it. Because imagine when money gets tight and you lose your job because you had a heart attack, or you got diagnosed with cancer because you're stressing about how do I pay the bills, right? And to your point about how other insurance agents are trying to always constantly get leads and whatnot. For me, it's all about the product. What are you representing?
Right.
And insurance is an amazing financial tool, right? But when you can provide these certain benefits at the same exact cost with the same amount of coverage, but now you have these extra protections, basically all it is giving you more value and educating you on what you're currently spending your money on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where we understand, like, okay, maybe this not the first thing I cut. Right. And if it was properly structured where you have some cash value, there are ways you don't have to pay that insurance for a year or two and it still covers you. Right. But
Wow.
But if we never took the time to educate ourselves on how that's possible, 9 out of 10 times that policy will go away. And it's not because someone did something wrong, just didn't understand it.
That lack of understanding. Yeah.
And education in this case is free. It doesn't cost you anything. Right? So if everyone approached their finances or anything they do, all the decisions they make, and they had all the knowledge they could have on that one topic, wouldn't you think they make better decisions?
Oh, absolutely. They would definitely make better decisions because you're more informed and you have examples and that are feasible, because anybody can fall ill, and it's not even 100%. Correct me if I'm wrong though, but this is also applies to if you get in a car wreck or you get injured in some type of way, right? That it can help you in the same way. It doesn't have to be an illness or an internal thing that happens with you. This can also be external. Is that true?
I'm glad you brought that up, because the company I represent is the only company in the nation that has a critical injury category.
Wow.
Okay. And because living benefits, the industry understands, we have this company that's 175 years, that growing over 20% a year. And they're offering people the ability to use their money while they're alive. There is going to have to be a shift in the industry. And you can already kind of see it, because most policies will have a terminal illness rider. Now, the terms of that terminal illness will vary based on the company, but the fact that they're offering things, you can see a shift in the industry, right?
Yeah.
And what you got to ask yourself is, if you just want general insurance, you can get it from pretty much any insurance company. But if you want all those extra benefits, you got to go and find the companies that are providing that. Right. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, is because we offer those critical injuries. I have a very good friend that I met through this business. He's a fellow agent in California, and he actually got started in the business because he had the policy. He had, I don't remember what he did. I think he had a high-end distribution type of business, and he got into a car accident. Right. And he broke his pelvic bone. So he couldn't do his job. He only had his policy for 2 months, and it gave him $60,000 while he recovered.
Wow.
And he then transitioned into the business just because of his story.
Because of his lived experience and how it helped him through his personal hardship. Isn't that typically when we advocate for something, when we actually had our own experience and it pulled us through the clutches of something happening, and we're like, hey, everybody, let me tell you about this amazing thing.
Right.
And everybody's like, insurance, get out of here.
Right.
Insurance is, I'm talking anything dealing with insurance or finances. People shut down. But isn't it funny that it takes listening to learn? You have to sit in that discomfort, right, to get to the good stuff. But that's where the education and where learning and understanding the benefits really helps you understand the value. And I think it's one of the things to where people don't kind of want to be called to the carpet, or you don't want to have to think about when bad things happen. It's kind of like, oh, that'll never happen to me. I'll never get sick, or I'll never get into a wreck, or I don't even want to think about that. But you cannot control those types of things. Some things just happen upon us. I never thought that I would get diagnosed with an autoimmune deficiency at like 29, however old I was at the time, because I was healthy, happy, was doing everything, was exercising, was totally fine. But because it was hereditary, it was, in my DNA, the fabric of who I was, who I am, I couldn't control that. Right. So we have to look the ugly things in the face and be prepared to protect ourselves and protect our families.
Well, 100%. And let me give you a little different perspective, right? If anybody listen, if you have children, and I, congratulated you 14 days after you had that child, and I said to you, hey, I want you to put $300 a month into a life insurance policy for your brand new baby. Most people would run the other way, right? Yeah. But what if I could educate you that $300 a month could possibly give your child $100,000 for college when they turn 18 years old?
Yeah.
And if they choose not to go to college, it helps them with seed money to start a business.
Yeah. Right? Oh, that's good.
And I go through this whole presentation about how it also will provide them a retirement income that's tax-free. And then I tell them it's life insurance.
Right.
And they're looking at me like, what do you mean it's life insurance?
Right.
There are so many financial tools out there most of us go to a bank, right? And we have a checking or a savings, maybe a CD, right? People have no idea banks have many more options, but we never ask, right? And so when you have these financial tools that you can use, it changes the game.
My
right?
good.
And to be able to do all these things and live life, right?
Yes.
Because you have these protections in place, excuse me, it changes the way you live your life. And that's what I challenge everybody to do, is start living life, because life is way too short.
Yes. Start to utilize living benefits. And Chris, tell the people how they can get in contact with you. You guys reach out to him if you're interested in getting living benefits, if you're interested in getting educated more about what that means, how it can help you in your life, in your family's life. Tell them how they can reach you and your call to action, Chris.
Very simple. Give me a text, Living Life, to 808-368-8496.
Awesome.
And it's a 100% free consultation. Let me show you what's possible. Let me show you what's available. And then you make a decision.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for giving us insight on the benefits to living benefits. Definitely, guys, you reach out to him. All you have to do is text Living Life to 808-368-8496. Thank you so much, Chris. You have a blessed rest of your day, darling. Thank you.
Awesome.